Okay, Councillor Goddard, I can confirm we're now live on YouTube and we can start the proceedings.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a virtual and resumed meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee of the London Borough of Hillingdon. This virtual meeting is also being broadcast simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. My name is Councillor Martin Goddard and I'm the chairman for this meeting. Before we start, some important housekeeping points for everyone present, please. Please ensure that any mobile phones around you are on silent. Please keep your microphone muted when not speaking and then unmute to speak. Only one person should speak at any time, and I as chairman will call on those to speak and keep an eye on the room through my gallery view on those indicating. Before we move on to the agenda, I'd like to do a roll call of those present to confirm attendance. Please indicate you are present when I say your name. Councillor Lynn Allen.
Present.
Good morning, thank you. Councillor Alan Chapman.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Ginny Mukherjee, Licensing Officer.
Good morning, Chairman.
Very much. Kerry Munro, Legal Advisor.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Liz Penny, Democratic Services Officer.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. The applicant, Yana Tamueva.
Yana, you're muted.
We can't hear you.
Can you unmute yourself, Yana? So,
Yana, it's essential that we do hear.
I found it.
oh, here we are. Hi,
Present.
hi. She's
Okay,
she's
very
present now.
good. Okay. Interested parties, Emesha Balog.
Present.
Thank you very much. And Agnes Mizaros.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. And Liz, just to check, I believe the other interested parties are not actually going to be present on the call today. Is that right?
I was informed that Mr. Smith would be attending, but he doesn't seem to have joined. So,
All
yeah,
right.
we can proceed with it without him anyway. That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. So in terms of technical meeting control, if any councillor leaves the virtual meeting partway through for a period of time, for example, for a lost connection, I will continue the meeting unless we're not quorate, and quorate is 2 councillors. Importantly, if a councillor drops out and has not fully heard the statements made by the applicant or other parties for a period of time, they will not be able to determine the matter, but may continue to take part in the meeting. To avoid this, if a councillor does drop out, we may ask the relevant party to repeat their statement. If any others present drop out, the Democratic Services Officer will advise on the best course of action. So if we now turn to the agenda, Liz, firstly, do we have any apologies for absence?
No apologies today, Chairman.
Kerry, I saw you signifying you wanted to say something. Did I?
Oh, no, Chairman, just adjusting my lamp.
Okay, I thought you were waving at me. Okay, fine. Do we have any declarations of interest in the matters before this meeting? No, I'm not seeing.
Chairman, so can I just interject 1 second, because I think somebody else has just joined us. I just want to check who's on the phone. Is that who's on the phone that's just joined, please? Is that Mr. Smith? Hello, sorry, can you just confirm who that is who's just joined the call, because I can see somebody else has joined.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Is that Mr. Smith speaking?
It is.
Oh,
yes,
hello
it
there.
is, yes.
Hello, thank you very much for confirming. It's Liz Penny speaking. So we're just going through the preliminaries of the meeting and the chairman's just doing the introductions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So just to confirm that this is a meeting held in public, so all of this process will be held in public apart from the determination stage when the committee will we'll discuss the results of the hearing in private. Okay. Furthermore, do we have any matters in advance dealt with as urgent, Liz, please?
No, we don't. Thank you.
Okay, so the matter we're due to consider is an application for a premises license for the Village Cafe, High Point Village, Hayes, UB34FL. This is a resumption of the hearing which started on the 11th of September and was adjourned at the request of the committee with the agreement of the participants, in order that clarification be sought from the police as to a series of CAD numbers cited by an objector to the application in her submission. Questions concerning those CAD numbers have been asked of the police by the licensing team, and a response was received, which has been circulated with the notice of this meeting. May I just check that all of the participants today have received that additional information provided by the police? I'm seeing some.
Yes.
Okay, very good, thank you. As the hearing on the 11th of September was adjourned very early in its process, I intend to restart the meeting today with the full content of the agenda. So may I therefore invite Ginny Mukherjee of our licensing department to repeat the introduction of the matter, please. Ginny, can I pass it to you?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, committee members, and to all of you. So I'll just repeat the introduction. This is a hearing to consider an application for a new premises license. The application has been made by the premises occupier, Mrs. Yana Tamiopa. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your surname correctly. A number of representations have been made in relation to this application. The premises is a ground level lock-up shop consisting of 2 units in this relatively new build site. The applicant is one of the first to occupy one of the several ground floor units that the developers designed and incorporated into the site for business use. The application seeks to license the area of the shop, which she runs as a cafe and has operated for almost 4 years now. There's an outside area available for use that has been indicated in the photographs. The outside area is part of a much larger central square built into the design. So this new application seeks to license a cafe, being a mainly food-led operation, with the ability to sell alcohol and provide hot food or drink alcohol, being seen as secondary and complementary, but not regulated as such. The building is currently decorated and presented as a cafe. There's precedence of a premises license being granted by the licensing subcommittee in September 2016, which was later surrendered by the previous license holder in November 2018. Copy of the surrendered license has been appended as Appendix 8 for reference. It may please be noted that apart from the existing license places in the area already mentioned at paragraph 6.2 of the report, 2 other premises in the vicinity were very recently, as recently as April 2019 and April 2020, licensed under the Licensing Act 2003. These are namely the Loaded Burger and the Takatak restaurant, with terminal hours ranging from 2300 hours on weekdays to 1 in the morning on weekends. So the hours sought by the applicant in the current application are therefore not excessive for the area. Any live music which has been proposed by the applicant ceases to be classed as regulated entertainment under the Live Music Act 2012 and also Licensing Act 2003, as the operation of the premises will cease by 2300 hours on all days. Under the legislation and the guidance, the police are the main source of advice on crime and disorder. This application has not attracted any objection from the Metropolitan Police on the grounds of crime and disorder. We have instead received an email confirming that the Metropolitan Police do not object to this application. We have further received information which is appended as Appendix A on the CAD numbers which were referred to in one of the objections. Then coming to the premises, it will operate as a food-led establishment and not exclusively or primarily for the retail sale of alcohol. It's to give the customers a fuller experience. So the operating schedule conditions and the additional conditions as agreed by the applicant with the licensing authority reflect that intention. Any extension of hours originally mentioned on the form by way of non-standard timings and seasonal variations have since been removed. The trading hours of the premises are the same as mentioned in the lease agreement. There are currently 5 local resident representations. All representations come from persons who live in the block of flats above or opposite the cafe. Some of them had opposed to the application back in 2016 when it went to a hearing. So that's it. That's it really. I would now invite the committee to determine the application in whether to grant, refuse, or amend the application as applied for. Thank you.
Jenny, thank you for that. Can I ask one question of clarification, please? Returning to the previous license for these premises, which, as I understand, was in force between September 2016 and November 2018, and I will look to try and establish whether there's any connection between the current applicant and the license holder for that license later on in these proceedings. But can you tell me if during the period that the license was in force, did the licensing team receive any complaints or requests for a review, either from responsible authorities, neighbouring residents, or ward councillors, even by way of members' inquiries?
No, Chairman, there were no member inquiries surrounding this premises during that period of time. There was a complaint raised by one of the objectors today, and that was received by the ASBET team, the Antisocial Behaviour and Environment team, but nothing was established finally, so it did not have any result, but a complaint was lodged by the same objector who is attending the hearing today. But apart from that, we do not have any other complaints on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you tell me the date of that complaint and the nature of the complaint was made?
I'll need to find that out. I don't have it on hand. I can come back to you on that a little later.
Yes, that would be helpful. Okay. Can I turn it over then to my colleagues on the committee? Councillor Chapman, any points of clarification from you, please?
No, Chairman, I'm fine with that presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Allen, any questions?
Well, I have one query on Appendix A, and it's point 4. And it refers to a CAD number, and it refers to 8 men standing near building smoking cannabis. And it says they were not causing antisocial behaviour and were not found on CCTV. Can someone please tell me whether smoking cannabis outside this building or anywhere is an issue that should be dealt with by the police, or if it's an antisocial issue that should have been dealt with by ASBET? I'm unclear of exactly what this is telling me.
Councillor Allen, I think, I mean, I understand the nature of your question. I think the difficulty is that was an answer given by the police. And as we know, the police are not present on this hearing to explain the stance that was taken. So I think it's if I may say so, I think it's a little difficult for anybody else to answer on their behalf. But I take your point.
Well, what I was trying to clarify is, was this an issue that was dealt with by the police, or was it dealt with by the antisocial behaviour team, or is it should we strike it out because it's of no relevance, no importance, and nobody's telling us anything on it?
Well, I can only ask Ginny if she has any awareness of that matter. I can't see how otherwise we can provide you with the answer you're looking for. Ginny, do you have any awareness of this?
Not really, Chairman. The thing is, like with any complaint or anything, that has to be directly attributable to the specific premises. The area where the premises is located, that does come with its own share of problems. We are all aware about that. But all the problems can't be directly linked to this one particular premises. And I think while determining the crime and disorder aspect of an application, that's what the Met Police have in consideration. So there are other premises nearby. There is the canal. There is that problem, but they could not link it to this one particular premises. So I will leave it to the panel on like how much importance they're going to put on which evidence. So yeah, thank you.
Councillor, I think maybe in this instance the key is in the word standing near the building. You know.
I wanted to know what the relevance, it being in this report, if it's near the building, so there it's not attributable to it, then what is the relevance it being there? But to tantalise us into thinking, hold up, there's an issue here from this premises, which clearly it couldn't have been.
Yeah, I mean, let's recognise that what instigated this particular line of inquiry to the police was the list of CAD numbers which the objector produced. My interpretation of this is, well, okay, yes, there was an episode. It was looked at. It couldn't be linked directly to these premises. That's what I take from it.
So therefore, it's irrelevant, and we should ignore it.
Well, I think the subject will come back in a different way, but that's later.
Oh, yeah.
Things I would suggest. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Allen?
No, thank you. Not at this stage.
Very good. Okay. Good. Well, in that case, then, Ms. Tamueva, you have an opportunity to address the meeting and to tell us about your license application. You should expect that the committee will want to ask you some questions of clarification after your presentation. So if I can throw it to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. My initiative for this place, for these premises, is start to operate. In the moment, I have as a cafe running there, food-led cafe. But despite I tried many times, hope that the cafe is gonna work. I put my best efforts in, but it didn't take it off. But my new initiative now, starting to change completely the cafe to the family restaurant, where I can hopefully it's going to be coming more families with the children, the couples coming, and making different atmosphere. And that's why I applied now for the premises alcohol license to start to run as a restaurant, family restaurant there. And I tried, we had previously from 2016, as been mentioned before, we had already alcohol license. I was presented there. But when it been stopped, when the premises license was lapsed, which was on the change of the operator, but I want to focus fully on to carry on as a cafe. I could have he could have transferred the premises license on my name, but I want to stay as a cafe for the time being. I didn't have a plan for the restaurant back then, but I tried a couple of years, but it didn't work. Because we are off the high street, we are not on the main street, and it's not survivable for me to stay as a cafe. But to making as a restaurant and operated from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. That's what I'm planning to do now. And I'd like to add one more thing, because I have 2 units, is the units 5 and 6, and the back units is a massive kitchen, which I would like to divide it for the bakery. That's going to be for the local residents. And we have the 3 massive building where 1,000 residents lives, and we like to start to bake fresh load breads. Bakery is going to be all variety of the bakery things as well. That's the half kitchen is going to be purely for the bakery, and half kitchen is going to be used for the restaurant. We like to do Turkish and Mediterranean restaurant there for the families and couples to come along.
Okay, so does that conclude what you wanted to say, Ms. Tamareva? Yeah.
I understand the complaints, and I understand the concern of the neighbors. There's no denying that have been periods of the time when the outside tables have been taken over by groups of young males who have engaged in the smoking of the marijuana. I'm not denying that. That's periodically, it does happening, these things, but it has been personally upsetting me as well, very upsetting, but it's also deteriorating my customers as well. But on the number of occasions I have assistance of the police and the council and the social behavior team. Having said that, it needs to be stated that the comments by the objector have exaggerated to extent of the problems. It should also be acknowledged that none of these were related to the alcohol, and that young males concerned do not drink alcohol in the public place because of the religious reasons, but mostly the population in the area. But the complaints are therefore not relevant to the question of whether an alcohol license should be granted. It is my sincere belief that once the nature of the restaurant is established, there will be totally different kind of customer, and any previous problems will be not repeated.
Okay, so does that conclude what you'd like to say, or is there anything else you'd like to add?
Also, yeah, I know the concern from residents are understandable, as I mentioned now, yeah, because of the location in the center of the square, where the problems such as loud noise or disorder could echo upwards to people's apartments. However, the alcohol will not only be sold as a part of a meal, and the style, it's going to be in the style of restaurant, will attract clientele that will be made up, like I mentioned, couples and families. That I want to develop different atmosphere, to build more for the community, be close with the community, and that's what I'm trying to do. But I do totally understand their concern, the neighbors' concerns, and it's very upsetting personally as well. But what we can do is only always refer to the police or to the council, who can tackle this antisocial behavior or the problem, which sometimes periodically the groups of youngsters sitting outside the area. Yes, and as a state, like I like to operate, like I mentioned, the food-led restaurant and the bakery, and this is something I would like to achieve.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions of clarification, and I'm sure that my colleagues on the committee may wish to do the same. Can we start, first of all, with the history of the business? I think you said that when the business started in 2016, you were involved at that time, but I believe somebody else was the licensee when the license was granted at that time. Can you explain to the committee just an outline of the structure of how the business is owned and run, and the changes in people that have taken place?
Yeah, the licensee, he had a personal license and I was, from 2016, I've been presented there when there was selling the sale of the alcohol. We never had like a good sale of alcohol, let's say, because it was a cafe nature of cafe. It wasn't like more invited for the families, but what the initial leaseholder and the personal license holder, he wanted to make the cafe as a bistro bistro cafe, but it's never taken off. But I was presented that we didn't have much sale of alcohol anyway, and we never had any problem during that period of time. And that's why for me, it wasn't a big difference to keep the alcohol license, premises license, or not, because it didn't make any big difference. And that's why we surrounded in 2018. And I wanted to still trying to stay as a cafe, but it did never take it off.
Okay, so if I can understand, I mean, you were one of the owners of the business from the beginning, yes? I mean, what was your role in the business in terms of work in 2016?
I was managing the place. We've been 3 shareholders in that premises. Back in 2016, in October, I joined there. And we was working as a cafe. We're running 3 partners there as a cafe. But and then we decided that it's a very small business for the 3 partners to have. And then we make a deal. We agreed that they want to sell their shares, and I took over the place and I started to run by myself. I bought their shares and I started running as a sole.
So today you are the sole owner of the business.
Yeah.
But to be clear, from September 2016 right through to date, you have been the manager of the business. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
I understand. Now, you talked a little bit about the business model for the cafe and how you intend to change it. So just to make sure that the committee understands that completely, as I understand it, hitherto it has been a cafe, so if I wanted to, I could arrive there at 7 o'clock in the morning and you would sell me breakfast. If I'd arrived at lunchtime, I could have I could have something to eat. If I arrived in the middle of the afternoon, I could buy a cup of coffee, probably not anyone else, and maybe I could get food in the evening up to 11 o'clock. That's the existing model, correct?
7 till 11 p.m. That's the lease we have in the operating times. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And as I understand it, the old license enabled you to sell alcohol until 10 o'clock at night. Is that correct?
No, until 10 p.m. we allowed to serve the alcohol outside premises. But after 10 p.m. we should bring our table and chairs inside. We're not allowed to serve the alcohol outside premises. But till 11 p.m. we are allowed to sell inside the premises.
Under the old, is that the case under the old license? I didn't understand that. Okay.
Yeah, and then that's in our license. It's in our lease.
Okay. And in that environment, if I just walked into the cafe and asked for an alcoholic drink without food, you could have sold it to me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What we agree, what initially we had a discussion from the team that the alcohol will be served with the meal, with the food only, not on its own.
So your intention now is quite different, as I understand it.
Yes, it is different. Yes.
So on the one hand, you want to turn the cafe into more of a restaurant.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So does that mean that the only sort of food service you do will be lunchtime and evening meals, or will you serve food throughout the entirety of the day?
Basically, the restaurant gonna be operated from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. and but we're gonna open the bakery side, but bakery will be operated from early morning from 6 a.m. till a certain time. But it's going to be food-led place. It's going to be restaurant food-led.
Okay. So just so I understand that, if I did turn up at 7 o'clock in the morning, I could buy a loaf of bread, but I couldn't have my breakfast there. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's going to be pure bakery.
Yeah.
And after 11 a.m., we haven't made a menu yet with the chefs. If we want to do it breakfast, I don't think so we're gonna do it. We're gonna start from lunch. It's gonna be lunch.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, I think I understand that. So just to be absolutely clear about this, if somebody turned up at your premises, assuming the committee were to grant you a license, yeah, my understanding is that you would only serve them alcohol if they were going to sit at a table and order a meal. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It is correct. Absolutely.
To be absolutely clear about that, that wouldn't be, I mean, were I to come and sit at a table and order a packet of crisps or something, that would not constitute a meal. It would have to be a proper meal. Is that right?
It can be served with a starter as well.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, if you want to order meze platter, or it's already like a meal, like a platter meal.
Mm-hmm.
It can be served with alcohol.
Okay, but there is a minimum level of food service.
It's a food-led. It's a restaurant. There's going to be starter and the main, and yeah.
Okay. Now, can I take you to page, I think it's page 35 of the pack, where there is an email exchange between you and Daniel Ferrer from Hillingdon Licensing, where Mr. Ferrer, shall I say, tightens up a number of the conditions in your license application.
Yeah.
He deals with the circumstances under which alcohol might be supplied. So it's only a person seated at the table. Having alcohol as a ancillary to the meal. It's a supply of alcohol should be by waiter or waitress only. Outside service will cease at 10 o'clock. Signage talking about the permitted hours for the sale of alcohol, and also the removal of this application for special hours throughout the year. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be clear about that, can I take it that you do absolutely accept these amendments that Mr. Ferrer is proposing?
Yes, we agree to that. Yeah, I agree to that conditions.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Right. And also to be clear, as far as the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises, that is not, you are not contemplating or going to offer sale of alcohol to be consumed off the premises. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's going to be in the premises.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, in the premises.
All right. Okay. Well, I've had a good go at this. I've got more questions, but let me turn it over to my colleagues now. Councillor Allen.
Thank you. I've got a number of questions like you. You told us in the early part of the conversation that you'd had to call the police out and the council out regarding antisocial behaviour of people congregating on your tables, smoking marijuana, behaving antisocially. Can you tell me how many times you've done that?
I haven't done it, but I did.
You told us you did.
No, I haven't. I said if it's gonna come where I need to deal, if I need to deal with I will call out the police and contact to the council who deals with antisocial behavior.
Okay, but you've acknowledged that was happening there. So why did you not call these?
I'm not denying that it's not happening. As soon as I'm coming out from the cafe, they're leaving, they're running away. As soon as I'm coming to talk to them, but this doesn't happen regular, or it did happen periodically, but not on the like a regular basis. And it's not now. It was much worse on the beginning when I started to join to that business, but it's not that bad now how it was before. Did you or have you ever kept a book listing, on a set day, a number of individuals sat at the tables, so that you had a record of the times this happened and how long they were there, and whether you were going to call the police or not, or whether they went so quickly
So do you ever keep a record of this?
No, I don't have any records yet, but it didn't come to that serious. It hasn't come to that serious to call that records of them. Doesn't come that much. They didn't. I don't have any evidence. I couldn't accuse them on something. Yeah, but you have like you see them, groups of the youngsters. What your first feeling is they're doing something like not right. You're coming out and they're just leaving the table. They're just going. They're just leaving straight away. But that was not now. That's what's happening in the past a lot. But now it's much calmer. I spoke with maybe I mentioned that I spoke with the antisocial behavior team. They've been around the cafe. We had a little chat with them as well. They spoke with the youngsters, like referred them. They're standing by the canal. They're doing the smoking marijuana or whatever, and then they're coming to the cafe for the meal. And we had a little meeting with them. That was happening back in end of July when the antisocial behavior team came from the council. They spoke with those youngsters as well, but no record or something. They haven't done it because they couldn't find anything like guilty on them to keep the record or anything. But they had a chat with them as well.
Okay, right.
No record.
Another question. Can you tell me when you obtained your personal license?
When I obtained my personal license.
Yeah, when you
I obtained
trained and got your.
Yeah, this year, just recently. It's new.
So you weren't selling drink. You were selling drink before, but you
Yes.
didn't have a license.
Yeah, I don't need a license because the who is a personal license holder, he is authorizing the staff to sell the alcohol. If I'm
But when was this?
That was back in 2016.
So you've sold no liquor since 2016 on this site?
Because personal license holder can authorize the staff because I'm an employee as well.
I'm asking you, you've said to me they relinquished in 2016 and you took over.
No, I took the over recently. I took the over in February last year.
Councillor Allen, can I help you there? My understanding, I appreciate it's not for me to speak for the applicant, but my understanding is that there was one of the other three partners was a personal license holder and had the license from 2016 to 2018.
Yeah, no,
then the business broke up, or the partnership broke up, and Ms. Tamil took over. But since that time, there hasn't been an alcohol license.
No, I understood that, but I wanted to know when she took the light, which become a license holder. Right, you tell us you want to split the premises into a bakery, restaurant. Are there going to be two separate buildings?
No.
Separate.
No. It's a joint. It's a joint unit. We have units 5 and 6. It's a joint unit. The front is a cafe, which is in the moment it is, but the back is a kitchen. But what we are doing now, I start this project in March this year. I have already project been in place. When I start to apply for the premises license, for get example my personal license and the project for the restaurant, but then this pandemic hit us and I stopped it in the moment because I have to rethink again. But again, I'm now confident to go ahead with the restaurant and bakery. But there's 2 units, but they are joint units.
Right. Can you tell me how you bear in mind where bakeries are, young people are, children go to the bakery, how you will stop youngsters coming in to your premises for the bakery, but being there in the licensing area?
The bakery is the takeaway. Is a takeaway, which is it's not for the sitting area. The bakery is purely people buying and going. It's like a shop. It's not for the sitting area outside.
No, that's why I was asking you how you are going to separate that. I mean, if you're running a restaurant, it's going to be the whole of the front, and then you've got one side bakery, one side license. How are you going to stop young people coming in and sitting at those tables and using the bakery but not using the licensing?
obviously we're going to supervise this. We're going to manage this. We're not going to let everyone who's sitting down the canal or on the street coming and use our premises. It's everything. It will be under supervision. Everything will be controlled.
Thank you. Can I just clarify? When you said drinking, and you say they don't have to have a meal, they can have a mezza, which I understand is a snack. You know, it's equivalent to our crisps. And can you be specific what this mezza is? Is it classed as food or snack?
No, it's a class as a food because it comes with the bread. It comes mezza. It can be done from the aubergine, and is a Turkish Mediterranean mezza. It's like a meal. It's like it's a good portion of food.
No, I
understood. It makes you full as well. It comes with the salads, bread. It's like a jajik, hummus. It's like a meal already. Yeah. It's like
I understood that.
light meal.
You hadn't. I understood that, but because those who listen on YouTube might have considered it just a snack, I wanted to be clear what it was. Thank you.
No, it's light meal, we can call. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions, please?
No, thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Chapman, any questions from you?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I've got a few. I'm pleased to say, though, that yourself and Councillor Allen have covered most of the questions I had. 2 points really I just wanted to clarify. On page 6 of the pack, obviously Ms Tamayo is down as the designated premises supervisor, and obviously the conversation here today is on that basis sort of thing. Looking at the application itself, on page 21 of the pack as opposed to page 21 of specifically the application, reference is made to and again, my apologies if I pronounce it wrongly, Giti Avdalova.
Yeah.
Down as the. Can we clarify who this person is and what the relationship and who'll be on site, that sort of thing?
No, initially, again, I was thinking to designate it Giti Avdalova, which is my daughter, and then my daughter.
Your daughter, sorry.
Yeah, Giti Avdalova, she's my daughter, and then I changed it. Then I emailed back to the licensing team and I said, I changed my mind. I will keep on my name, and I asked them to remove. Yeah.
So it is you and solely you that we're discussing today, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. The only other area I was going to ask you about, and I know it's set out in the application, but if you could just tell us in your own words.
Yeah.
I'm conscious that externally, bearing in mind you've got busy staff inside the building, it must to some extent be very difficult to, shall we say, police the external area. You know, the tables outside, this sort of thing. Obviously, you're going to be having CCTV. Can you talk through what the arrangements you envisage are, and whether you're liaising with the police, with the council's antisocial behaviour team to make sure that those arrangements are adequate?
Yes, absolutely, yes. We have already outside area. There's already CCTV cameras already installed, and they are connected. We have the concierge who's sitting in a building who controls outside the area as well. If it's something happening, first we can call them, or we can call direct to the police or to the antisocial behaviour team. But the CCTV footage already installed outside the sitting area.
So you mentioned the concierge. Is the CCTV system the complexes system, or is it your cafe system?
Outside, yes, not inside. It's just the outside. Well, but I have my.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, inside premises we have the CCTV footage as well, which is will be extended from 21 days to the 31 days for recording.
But what I mean is, obviously within the building is your responsibility, and you have visibility of the CCTV there. Is the external CCTV, for want of a better term, is it your CCTV, or is it the concierges and the the complex as a whole?
Yes, it belongs to the complex, to the concierge complex. It doesn't belong.
Yes, so you won't actually see, again, within the building, you will see what's going on. But presumably you will have screens to show you what's going on internally.
Yeah.
Would you have screens to show you what was going on externally?
No, I don't. But if I'm gonna ask, because we're paying for the service charge, which this is all includes all the services that we have there, and if I need it for the police purposes or for the antisocial behavior, the police wanna have the access and get the record.
What I mean is, though, because it's not yours, you would only have access to it, shall we say, retrospectively after the event for evidence. It's not like you would see it on a screen and think, oh, I'm going to go out to table number 3. I don't like what's going on there. You know, you'd only have visibility after the event when you requested it.
But it's a very visual because we have big windows, very open up, and it's very visual. You can see very easily. It's all front of the shop. It's not been hidden or behind the back or in the that you can't see, but it's all invisible area.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Chairman.
Ms. Tamaeva, I'd like to come back on points that have been picked up by Councillor Allen and indeed by Councillor Chapman here, because I think there is an important point of principle. Absolutely, you as the proprietor of the business are responsible for your business premises, okay? And I think we need to be absolutely clear that there is an equal level of responsibility for your tables as there is for the interior of your cafe. Okay, I mean, the outside tables are part of your business. Would you? Yes. Yeah. Now, I would argue that, you know, regardless of a license, you have a responsibility in law to make sure that there is orderly and legal behavior going on throughout the entirety of your premises. So I'm surprised and disappointed when you say that you were aware that there were groups of people smoking marijuana at the outside tables. I mean, how can you justify allowing that to continue?
Obviously not. Obviously not. This is sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can I speak?
Yes, of course, please.
Yes, what I've said, this was happening in the past. That was happening in the past periodically. But what I'm saying, as soon as I leave, like I'm coming to them to talk to them, they're both leaving the premises straight away. But I'm taking that very close and very serious, taking the steps. If this is going to be repeated, I will contact the police, no matter what. It's just regardless what it will be running or no. I just need to call the police. I will tackle this problem.
Well, I mean, sorry, I don't want to labour this excessively, but I think it's massively important. Yeah, Ms. Mazzaros, I'm sorry, you'll get your opportunity to speak, but not now. Okay. The first thing to say is that I believe you have a general legal responsibility to make sure that everything that goes on in your business premises, and that's inside and outside, is conducted in a legal, crime-free and orderly manner. Okay, but certainly were the committee to grant you a license, that duty of responsibility increases massively. I mean, if you've just become in this year a personal licensee, you should be aware of the licensing objectives under the 2003 Act. Can you tell me what they are?
Yes, of course. I make it clear that I'm fully aware of the full licensing objectives.
Well, please tell me what they are.
Yes, the prevention of crime and disorder. That's one. Second one, the protection of children from harm. Third, the prevention of public nuisance and the public safety.
Exactly. So you have an absolute responsibility to ensure that throughout the entirety of your business premises, there is not crime or disorder or nuisance being conducted. Okay, so the way I interpret that, and I'm quite happy if my colleagues on the committee want to disagree with me about this, but that means that you have to have a zero tolerance attitude towards of people coming to your sitting down and smoking marijuana. It has to be zero tolerance. And my sense is that you've had an awareness of this in the past, but you know, I would question whether you have acted on it sufficiently. Would you care to comment on that?
Yes, I am taking all the steps, all necessary steps to tackle this problem if I will face this problem. What I'm saying, that I can't deny that the young groups standing by the canal down there where they're smoking the marijuanas and walking back to the cafe to the tables. But when I see even those groups, it's already deteriorating me. But I can't find with them that they're doing something wrong when they're having the meal outside my area. You can't call the police and accusing them when there's no evidence such, but you know here that you understand they're doing there something and then coming to me, you know, after that to have. But even though I'm trying to stop them even to come to have the meal because they're not pleasant, it's not pleasant customers. It's not the customers I want to have. And that's why I want to change entire cafe to the family restaurant.
Well, forgive me, but I don't believe that you changing your business model is necessarily going to automatically change this. Okay, I would suggest to you that as a proprietor of the business, you have absolute discretion in terms of people who you will admit as customers to your business. And it seems to me you know exactly who these people are. I absolutely appreciate that you cannot be responsible for what goes on in the wider area outside your premises, but you are absolutely responsible for what goes on within your premises, and that consists of both the interior and the exterior. Now, if I can take that on, if I may, to the question of CCTV, okay, my view would be that it is insufficient, actually, to try and rely on the cameras that the concierge for the development has. Certainly with other licensing applications, generally, there is coverage of CCTV that covers the exterior, where the exterior is being used for business purposes, as well as the interior. So I think that is, you know, the question of establishing CCTV that covers the entirety of your business premises, I think is something that absolutely must be offered up by you.
Okay, I will consider that. I will install another CCTV camera out to monitor outside the area as well. I have already free CCTV footage internal, but I will install external CCTV camera as well for me to monitor properly and more closely. I will do that.
Councillor,
I think your questions have brought up further questions. We've been looking at the premises and the CCTV on the premises, which I would have believed would have covered the table and chairs outside. Now, the applicant tells us that the table and chairs outside are not covered by her CCTV inside, but they're covered by the concierge. Now, the concierge is not part of her business, and therefore, when we have asked for evidence from the police, have we been, from the applicant, have we been getting the evidence from inside the building, which wouldn't show what we're looking at? And has the concierge offered up any CCTV evidence? I'm sorry, I find this, we've been dancing around the tables here, and I think we need some clarity.
well, Councillor Allen, are you posing that as a question to the applicant?
Yes, I'm posing. When I don't know who to compose it to now, because we've been, you know, you understand where I'm coming from. We've been asking for evidence from the police Now, are we getting the evidence from the police that they said they can't come along today because they haven't got anything to give us? Is it because it's not regarding this premises, but really the table and chairs are, so it's a grey area? Perhaps you can advise me where we go on this, because I'm getting more and more confused as the moment goes.
Well,
on who takes responsibility for the table and chairs outside,
well,
or who has ever taken responsibility for the table and chairs outside.
Well, if I may suggest to you, I think there are two ways to break this down. Okay. First of all, the committee can only react to the evidence which is presented to it. Yeah, would you agree with that?
Yep.
And secondly, clearly, this line of questioning has exposed a gap in the CCTV capability which the business has today. Yeah.
Yes.
And certainly, my feeling is that were the committee minded to grant a license here, and I'm not second guessing that in any way, I think it would be absolutely essential that the business, not the concierge, the business has coverage of those outside tables within its range of CCTV capability. Would you do that?
I totally agree with you.
Okay, fine. Good. Okay. Sorry, Kerry. Let me just. Councillor Chapman, any further questions from you for the applicant?
No, Chairman, no.
No. Okay. Kerry, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, please. Just one question of clarification. This is for the applicant, Mr. Tomo Iva. Thank you very much for explaining. I note that you've taken on board about the CCTV and you're looking to implement one outside, because outside would be the business as well, and you've accepted there's a problem of antisocial behaviour. So that's great. The question I want to find out is that the licensable activity is the alcohol. You said that it would be served with customers sitting down at tables. Would that be, so I know inside, but I just want to clarify if that would be outside as well. How do you want to present your business model with selling alcohol?
Yes, basically, is in a nice weather. People like to have their meal outside of, because the beautiful Grand Canal Union view the front of the fountains, and outside area is quite a great area where people can enjoy their meal, and if they would like to order the beer or a glass of wine, that will be served as well for the outside area.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tamaeva, I'm sorry, but I have one further question. I noticed that your application makes reference to live music. Now, I would like to understand the nature of that live music. I do understand that this live music would only be performed up to 11 p.m. in the evening, which means that it is in effect deregulated. Okay.
Yeah.
But certainly I'm conscious that the potential impact of that upon the neighbourhood is an important factor. So I'm slightly struggling with, if you're saying that the business model is to operate this as a family restaurant, I'm slightly struggling with the inclusion of live music within that model. Can you explain that to us, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Chairman. Basically, when I start, I had a designer who was designing the restaurant that was back in March this year, before the pandemic. He was offering me to, because I had an investor who will do fancy restaurant there. We want to add the mezzanine floor as well. And it's going to be, because there's a 5-meter high ceiling there. He said, why you not put one floor as a mezzanine floor inside your restaurant, And on the ground floor, you can have grand piano. Like Friday, Saturday, Sundays, you can, like the grand piano can play and create a beautiful, soft atmosphere. That's the live music I was looking Friday and Saturday, actually, not Sunday. Friday and Saturday to play the live music. But that was the beginning. But now we're not gonna do it anymore. We're gonna go basic with the normal restaurant, not any more fancy restaurant like I was planning to do with the mezzanine floor and everything.
So, if I can understand, there isn't going to be a mezzanine floor.
No, it's gonna be because the pandemic hit us, and then I just rethink it, and I want to keep it like a moderate, not to go to that level as yet.
So there is not going to be any live music.
No, it's not gonna be, no. Because I want to do like with the mezzanine floor, top floor, and the ground floor. It will be nice to have a grand piano plays in the evening for 3 hours, maybe like a starting 6 or finish 9, or starting 7, finish at 10 p.m. But that's not going to be taking place now.
No. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. So, fine. I think that concludes my questions for now. Members of the committee, any further questions for Ms. Tamoeva? No, I'm not seeing anything. Oh, Councillor Allen.
Just a quick one. What time does the bakery close?
Yeah, we're going to close at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
But we're also going to do like school runs there in the morning. We're going to also provide complimentary box for all our 1,000 residents. Free.
No, please.
Yeah.
That's not something for you to discuss here. I just needed to find out what time your bakery opened and what time your bakery closed.
6 to 5.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Tamoeva, thank you for your answers. We will now turn to the comments from interested parties. And firstly, can I invite comments from Agnes Mezaros, please?
Thank you very much for giving me some time to speak. I have made some notes in the meantime while I was listening to all the application proposals, and I have some comments. I live in the High Point village. I'm a shift worker, so usually I sleep during the day, and I think many residents here in the building, because of the proximity of Heathrow, sleep during the day and they need their rest during the day. I am aware of there have been previous problems about noises, that people couldn't have taken their rest because of the noise from the outside, especially from the square. So I think playing live music, if it's a future plan, definitely should be carefully explored before it goes ahead. The next one, I haven't used your cafe premises many times, and first of all, one of the reasons is because of all those youngsters who were regularly sitting. You said it was a problem in the past. It was this summer that I've seen regularly youngsters to the number of, let's say, 8 or 10 at your cafe tables. I'm not sure if they made any consumptions or not. I'm not sure if they're contributing to your sales at all. But to me, it looks very intimidating that I can't sit on these premises because those youngsters with their little bags, man bags, whatever they are doing, it's up to no good, as you said yourself as well. So not to say that you didn't know that you have no proof of what they are doing. I think if the committee grants a license to this cafe, definitely, would you be able to increase police presence, or would you be able to do any spot checks, or how would you control the situation if it gets out of hand, if the antisocial behavior becomes uncontrollable? Just a few more. I'm just looking through my notes. I'm not sure if any of these the committee members have ever seen the premises itself. You have. So you have more of an idea how it's located. So the square itself, to my understanding, is a private land. It belongs to High Point Village, but it was granted access to the public. So many youngsters gathering on the square is not very helpful. I think most of the residents would like to have the square completely closed off from the public and just to keep it private for us to use. In the summer, if you went past the square because of the heat wave, I have seen so many young kids and so many young families, like kids at the age of 4 or 5, having fun on the square and enjoying the sun outside, and maybe trying to escape the heat from the flats, which probably some of you are aware that the flats are so overheated in the summer that people are escaping these flats. So having an extra, let's say, alcohol consumption on the square would, in my mind, even more scare off those young families who would use the premises during the summer at least. And a few more. I would like to give someone else some word, and I would just go through my notifiers and anything else worth mentioning, if that's okay.
Thank you very much. I have no questions for Ms. Mazaros. Councillor Allen, any questions from you?
No, thank you.
Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Chairman. Just two questions, really, just two simple queries. Agnes mentions that she's a night worker, and obviously, I think, well, having had to do nights in the past myself, I can very much relate to those problems. Not a facetious question, but just basically, bearing in mind she lives next door to a major railway line, I just wondered whether she suffered from the noise from that much. How she handles that, so to speak.
I would say during the summer, yes, when we have to keep the doors open because of the lack of ventilation in the building. During the winter, thankfully, the sound insulation is quite good. So not during the winter. Unfortunately, during the summer, I would say yes. Yeah. The noise is a problem. And I would say I can maybe put a time frame on it as well. So when the heat starts to be very unbearable in the flats, it's maybe May, definitely, up until the end of September. So I keep my balcony doors, which is just behind me, constantly open just to escape the heat or get some air circulation. So the noise from the street or from the square is very, very laudable.
So you're just, so to speak, entering the tolerable phase of the year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. The only other point I was going to raise, you touched on it yourself. Obviously, the square, my understanding is that the square, although it is private land, it is in point of fact public realm. I've been round there myself. I know where the canal is. I know where the steps to the canal is. I know, I wouldn't say I know the area well, but I know where it is. Irrespective of today's meeting and the application, the fact is, going forwards, unless something else changes, that area will continue to be public realm, and the various issues that you've alluded to in terms of kids hanging around, etc., that could potentially just continue anyway. You do appreciate that, don't you?
As long as it's kept public, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's all. Only points I wanted to make. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Chapman. I think I just at this point need to emphasise that, of course, the responsibility of this committee is purely and simply to consider the application for these premises. And whilst I can understand that Ms. Mazaros maybe has a problem with the level of noise and public ingress into the square, that is not something that this committee can deal with. That really is a matter for the residents to take up with the management company that takes responsibility for the square.
Can I just interrupt for quickly? If the license is granted, that will definitely increase the footfall, and I suppose that's the aim of the business.
Well, obviously the applicant is entitled to, if she's granted a license, she's entitled to develop her business. But the only thing I emphasize to you, that what you say may well be a consequence of this, but but I still take the point that it is not the responsibility of this committee to consider that consequence. All the committee can consider is that the conduct of the business premises is in compliance, or will be, to the satisfaction of the committee, in compliance with the Licensing Act. Okay, so there is almost certainly a wider issue, I would suggest, that the residents may need to talk to the management company and the landlords about, but it is not something that this committee can consider. Okay, so let's leave it there. The next interested party is Emesha Balog. Emesha, can I ask you to make your comments, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Before I address the most important issue, which is the drug use at the outside tables of the village cafe, I would like to address some other points that was brought up previously by people talking before me. Basically, the business model to me sounds very confusing. It doesn't make sense. Also, what doesn't make sense to me is the three requests: the music, the longer opening hours, and the alcohol sale. In my opinion, it doesn't fit in with what Jana's saying about the fact that she wants a family-orientated restaurant with, I don't know how to say, different quality people coming as opposed to drug users. And it just, the business model just doesn't fit with the fact that she wants to attract families and children and the bakery, and it's just very confusing, and it doesn't collide, the two things to me, the business model and the kind of people she wants to attract. Why does it need to be alcohol involved and open till 11 and play amplified music? It was actually, the word is amplified, not live music. Amplified music was the word. Why in a restaurant has to be amplified music, and why does it require alcohol sale and all the rest? And the other point, just back to the noise, what Agnes said just before me, is that I think she said it, but it wasn't perfectly clear. Sorry, Agnes, is that the noise is the noise pollution is made much worse by the coffee shop because of the people attracted there. I don't mean the customers, but not all the customers, but the problematic customers. And I think I disagree slightly with what was said, that it's not the issue to consider. I think like crime and the quality of life of the residents is very much an issue to be considered in these hearings. And so I disagree slightly there, that is not an issue that we can discuss. So it's a completely inappropriate place for such establishment, because the burger, loaded burger, was also mentioned that they were granted also a similar license relatively recently. However, there's a massive difference between the burger, loaded burger, and the village cafe, is that the loaded burger has no outside tables at all, and they cause no problems to the development. I don't think you will ever hear a complaint about the loaded burger, because they have no outside tables, it's completely quiet, and there's no drug use at their premises. However, the main issue with the village cafe and this application is that it's the continuous, including very much this summer, absolutely continuous and frequent drug use, and sometimes even drug dealing at the outside tables, which I witnessed myself. So other points before I go further into the drug dealing is the alcohol, issue of the alcohol. At the beginning, when the coffee shop opened, I used to go there, not for a long time, I haven't because of the drug dealers, but I used to go there quite a few times, and I witnessed with my own eyes when I was inside, not the outside tables, but inside the building, that actually it's the same group of people who also use drugs. They were served alcohol. I don't know if it was vodka or tequila, but it was a clear liquid. They were served shots, and they were already so drunk that they couldn't stand even. And they were not sitting at a table. They were walking around, and they were still served alcohol, even though they were so drunk that they couldn't stand at all. I just wanted to say, and this is included in my original representation. Please read this again if you want. But this is included in there also, this alcohol issue. And how can we trust the management if they can't handle, if they couldn't already handle, they proved themselves not to be able to handle this before. And also, Jana admitted that she witnessed many times the drug use at the outside tables, because obviously only allowed to smoke outside, they're not going to smoke it inside. So the outside tables, she witnessed it many, many times, and she never called the police. She said it herself. She has never once called the police. Now, what I witnessed is that a police officer came out one of the many times I called the police regarding only, I will only talk about drug use at the outside table. I will not talk about the piazza at all, or smoking by the canal or anything like that. Just literally sitting at the tables and smoking marijuana, these people. So one time the police came out, it was one gentleman alone, and he talked to the owners, and the policeman said, if you see it, you absolutely must call the police every time you see this drug use. And to be honest, it's common sense to anyone that drug use, it's a Class B drug, marijuana is illegal, and you have to call, and you're responsible for your own premises. And she has never called once. And I want to address that Jana said before today at this meeting that it was not frequent, the drug use. I would like to say that it's actually almost a daily issue, including this summer. Let me underline, including this summer. I mean, I hardly cross the square without smelling marijuana, and I look over and it's coming from the tables. It's not coming from the young children running around in the fountain or the families. It's every time I go across, sometimes I just try not to cross even the square. I just turn left over Tesco so that I don't have to deal with the issue, because I call the police every single time I smell marijuana coming from the coffee shop and I see them smoking actually. So it's frequent and it's not in the past. What else? Yes, and also I wanted to say something else regarding no complaints was raised before, only just the antisocial behavior. I raised complaints previously many times via phone and email also, directly to the licensing authority of Hillingdon, not just regarding antisocial behavior, but also regarding drug use. And I have the evidence. I can look it back, but not at this moment because I have all the different screens set up for this meeting. I would have to look back the exact timing, but I keep all of my emails. I never delete an email, so I have everything. And also I drew the attention of the licensing officer recently in the last few days that I have complained multiple times to the licensing authority about the frequent drug use at the village cafe. So I wanted to say that, yes, there actually were complaints. That's not correct. That weren't only antisocial behavior. That's not correct. And also regarding the concierge and the CCTV, it's a huge issue because the concierge are not involved in any shape or form of policing even the piazza or obviously not the coffee shop premises. So it's 100% Jana's responsibility to police the outside tables. It has no business with High Point Village at all. And the CCTV, they have no access to it and they can't see it. And it's only been kept for 2 or 3 weeks as footages at High Point Village. Okay, so now to the most important issue, in my opinion at least, is the drug use, the frequent drug use. Just, I want to shed a light on one event that took place on the 2nd of August this year. I was in the piazza at 4:55 in the afternoon. And again, I smelled marijuana coming from the tables of the coffee shop. And I called the police, so there is drug use. The cab number is 5876. And they saw me calling the police, and because they had drugs on them, because they were smoking, they had drugs on them, obviously. So they ran away when they saw me calling the police. However, I walked over to the table because I saw they left something there. And there was a half-ready marijuana cigarette on the table left. And I picked it up and I brought it inside the shop to show. And Liana was there. And also, I believe who also was there is the previous manager. She was doing some paperwork at the table. An older lady, I don't know her name. She was what looked like she's doing paperwork. And so I went in and I said, look what's happening at your table outside. There's again drug use there, like almost every day, or multiple times a week, let's say. Just probably not every day, but multiple times a week. And what was the response from them, both of the ladies, Yana and the older lady, I think the previous owner? They shouted at me, I quoted word by word, only 2 sentences, get out. We are going to call the police on you. This is what exactly they said to me. And on this very day, I complained to the building management. I asked them to apologize to me, which I did not receive, because why you talk to me like that? Get out. I mean, so it was really upsetting. Instead of, one would expect the reaction to be, oh my God, which table? Where are the people? Let's call the police. What's happening? And they didn't even look at the cigarette or anything. And there's a picture of the cigarette in my original representation. You can see in the agenda as well, it's included. it's just really shocking. The reaction is it's not just that they unable to deal with the situation, but in my opinion, completely unwilling and reluctant and not interested at all. Only now that they applied for this extended license, they pretend to be interested just to accept the license, receive the license. And in the application, writes there will be regular checks for any possible risk to the public safety. And I mean, that actually made me laugh. Because not just that previously no checks were made, but even when residents bring it to their attention what's happening, not just that they don't do anything but they're aggressive towards the residents, it's completely unacceptable. So there's also the alcohol issue and the drug use. I mean, it's so frequent. Oh, and also, so the update we received from the police is completely unacceptable. Not one of the six points in, I think, Appendix 8 code, none of the 6 points has any value whatsoever. I tell you exactly why. So point number 1, talking about CAD number 3980, yes. In my terribly handwriting, you can see in my original representation that I wrote to 39808 that it happened in November 2018. I did not say it happened on the 14th of November. I said in November. Unfortunately, the exact date I did not write down, but this could be found out from the police very easily. And what happened on that day, a large crowd smoking marijuana was sitting at the table of the cafe. Let me emphasize that all of my CAD numbers directly relate only and exclusively to the coffee shop tables, not to the piazza at all. I have hundreds of CAD numbers over the 7 years I've been living in High Point Village regarding all sorts of different issues. And I only picked out a few that directly relate just only to the coffee shop, because it was a question, what do these CAD numbers relate to? In the previous meeting also, and even today it was brought up. So addressing back to number 1 in Appendix A. So it did not happen on the 14th of November, because it says, the update says that the police found nothing on 14th of November, but it's completely pointless, point number one, because it does not relate to 14th of November. Then in point number 1, it says CAD number 3864. I did not mention CAD number 3864. So why is it there? Completely pointless. And it says it relates to meals outside my house. Yes, it does. And I did not mention this CAD number. It does not relate to the coffee shop. I did not mention that CAD number. Point number 2, 96 calls were made by me in 1 year up to sort of now, the prior year. What is the point of this? It's not an update on my CAD numbers. It's not an update on my CAD numbers at all. What was required is an update on what happened on those days, who called, does it relate to the coffee shop, and what was done by the police afterwards. That should have been the update from the police. So point number 2, completely pointless. Point number 3, any chats over 1 year old are archived and need special access to retrieve. Yes, special access to retrieve. Go ahead, ask the police to, and I would have granted you access if it was needed, my permission, because I provided you the CAD number on the first place. So, and also number 3, if it's true that you cannot get an update on any CAD numbers before, like 1 year prior, how can they get an update regarding number 1, point number 1, CAD number in November 2018? So they could say it doesn't exist, but in number 3, it says you cannot see anything before 1 year. So it's point number 1 and 3 contradict each other. They contradict each other. Point number 4 and 5, I addressed them together. I did not talk about those CAD numbers at all, which again do not relate to the coffee shop, but they only relate to the piazza, which is, So 4 and 5, I did not mention those 2 CAD numbers at all, beginning with 5. Point number 6, again, pointless. The police were unable to retrieve all the CAD references. Yes, I can see that. There is basically, and also why were they unable? Is the police. These numbers are provided to me by the police. Every time I call, I write it down. So in my phone, actually, I have a list of CAD numbers because of these issues. And thank God for that, because now I could provide it to you, those CAD numbers. So basically, we did not receive a feedback or update on none of my CAD numbers I provided. However, when I called the police last Thursday on 101 to get an update, myself because I saw the agenda and I thought it was absolutely rubbish. The update is it's a non-update update. So I called 101 myself to get an update. And I managed to get update on 2 issues I mentioned in my original representation. One is regarding the thing I mentioned on the 2nd of August, when there was drug use at the tables and I took the cigarette inside and they were shouting at me, get out, and I will call the police on you. So that was CAD number, That was CAD number, let me scroll up, 5876. And I managed to get an update. It was a 40-minute phone call to 101. So it was no effort really to get an update. And what they said to me, what was this one? I think they just said they drove past what they said. The officer on the phone told me. The police came out later sometime, that's what they said, and they drove past like on Station Road and they did not see anyone suspicious. But, you know, the location of the Village Cafe is inside the piazza. So the policeman should have got out of the car and walked to the coffee shop and see what's happening. But anyway, so I did receive an update on that. And I also received an update on a second crime, a different one, which also took place, in July. That was one of the CAD numbers I provided to you. July 24th, this year also, by the way. So that's a fresh one also. 24th of July, 2020. It's not a CAD number, it's a different type of crime reference number because it's not up to me what type of reference the police decides to assign to a crime. So this number is 0915987 per 2020. And on the, again, it's always the same story. It's drug use at the tables of the Village Cafe. And this happened at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I called the police and my update was from the police when I called on last Thursday to get an update. They came out 9 hours. They came out 9 hours later at midnight. So obviously, as you can imagine, they didn't find anybody, and they apologized to me because they said, "Sorry, we had a very busy day that day." Somehow they wrote it down there. We had a very busy day, and they only came out at midnight. So basically, they could not find anyone. Obviously, 9 hours later. Also, regarding the other CAD numbers I provided, I have requested in writing the police to provide me updates because they were earlier, and the lady on the phone said to me, the police officer, that I would have to fill out a form, which I did, and I sent them a copy of my passport and so on and so forth. And so they will provide me, it's a Freedom of Information Act, they will provide me updates regarding the other CAD numbers, what was done after they came out, if they came out at all, and what happened regarding any arrests or anything. But I can tell you that I call these numbers, the CAD numbers, and they all correct. I write them down straight away as soon as I make the phone call. I write it in my phone. I have a list. I started this list in 2018, early 2018, because I realized this is an ongoing problem. Clearly this summer, we had multiple occasions. Again, just I told you, July and August and even September, whatever. It keeps happening. So in 2018, I decided to write a list of all the CAD numbers, not just regarding the coffee shop, but the piazza and everything else. And from this list, when I realized they're applying for a license, I looked at my list and I just picked a few numbers. I didn't write so many numbers. I just picked like 4 or 5, maybe 6, I don't know, numbers that directly relate only to the coffee shop, because I know very well that you're not interested what happens in the piazza. And if not, it's not Diana's responsibility what happens in the piazza. However, it is very much her responsibility to police the tables outside. And as she said herself, the coffee shop is all glass all around, both sides. It's like a corner and it's 2 sides, both glass. And she can see what's happening. She doesn't even have to go outside. She can see what's happening. Yet, nothing has ever been done about it. In fact, when they smoked marijuana on previous occasions, and I brought her attention to it, they even still get service after that. These people, they don't always run away. That's completely incorrect. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they run away straight away. But not because she asked them to stop smoking marijuana, but it's because when they see me calling the police, they run away. They don't run away for her coming out and asking them to smoke marijuana. That's a complete, I'm just going to say, lie. It's not correct at all. It's not correct. I've been living here for 7 years. I know what's happening here. And I spend a lot of time in the piazza because the flats are extremely hot in the summer. And also, you know, just to break up the day, I sometimes go out to relax there on the benches. And it's completely incorrect. She does nothing, and she provides them food afterwards, after I brought their attention to the drug use outside. So how can we trust the management? how can we trust the management to grant them extended license? To be honest with you, even if you don't grant the license, which you should not, in my opinion, I will be fighting to close the place down as it is, because it just creates a great problem for High Point Village. And it's not just the drug use, but that's the number one. It's the crime, it's the noise, they fight. You know, these people are not going to sit there quietly after they get high and drunk. They're not going to sit there quietly and be nice to the children playing around them and just, you know, put their hands on the table and just be polite. Often they fight. Sometimes, one time they flipped the tables up when they were fighting, and I think one of the glass was broken, the table, and the things happen there. It's the drug use comes many other issues, as you can imagine, obviously. You know, just like with drinking alcohol comes many other issues, you know, than drunken behavior and so on.
Hello, can I just stop you briefly?
Actually, I'm almost like I finished, actually.
Sorry, listen to me, please. You must listen. You've provided us with a lot of information. You do appear to be repeating yourself. Do you have any new evidence that you want the committee to consider other than what you have said so far, please?
What do you mean, since when, counting since when new evidence? What do you mean exactly?
I mean, you have cited a number of examples of drug use. You have talked about alcohol abuse. You've talked about fighting.
Yes.
You've talked about a number of these things. It does appear to me that you are now going over the same ground again. Is there anything else that you wish the committee to be aware of?
Well, I think I provided extremely extensive evidence regarding the drug use and update from me, and actually, that was. Let me just finish, please. And also, I would like to emphasize that what would be happening here is basically not in name, but in anything else. It would change the coffee shop into a bar, and it would greatly increase the cumulative impact of similar establishment in the area. The Old Crown Pub is just a stone throw away, and we have already know that it's what it is like to live near to one of such places. But it's not under our windows. However, the coffee shop is under 1,000 people's windows. Actually, around 1,000 people live at High Point Village. And opening one right under our windows is completely unacceptable idea. And if it was you who were living here, you would never grant this. And especially if you experience what we experienced so far. And I just want to emphasize, this happened this summer. The two things I mentioned in July and August was this summer. And then she told me to get out when I tried to bring this to her attention. I mean, that's not a reaction you would like from a management. You would like to hear...
Ms. Bella, you are repeating yourself now, okay?
Well, one time I repeated myself, previously I did not.
No, you are repeating yourself, and please, I think you provided this committee with a lot of serious evidence that we do want to consider, but unless you have anything new to say, what I would like to do now is to invite the committee to ask you any questions that they would like to do so.
Of course, yes, of course.
Councillor Allen, do you have any questions, please?
I have a question, whether it's relevant or not, for you to decide.
Okay.
Can I ask if you are anti-alcohol? Because you keep you refer to drugs and refer to alcohol. Are you a resident who's opposed to anyone drinking alcohol, or is it just...
Not at all. I drink alcohol myself.
Oh, no,
not at all.
Please let me finish. Are you opposed to alcohol or opposed to this premises antisocial behaviour?
Both, absolutely both. Because they go hand in hand as well.
No. Please. If you are opposed to anybody drinking alcohol, then that is a personal opinion. If you are talking about this premise, now please let me speak. I've listened to you. If you are opposed to this premises because of the antisocial behaviour there, that is the issue we can listen to. If you are opposed to alcohol per se, anybody drinking alcohol, then we cannot countenance that. We cannot take your view on that into consideration.
I don't even understand how you got that. I am opposed to anybody drinking alcohol at all. What I said is that they were served alcohol after they were drunk already, which is not acceptable even in a bar. They could hardly stand. I am absolutely not opposed to drinking alcohol. I like wine myself. I would like to cut down on, especially in the lockdown.
Thank you. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Councillor Allen, any other questions for?
No, thank you.
This witness? Councillor Chapman, questions from you, please?
No questions from me, Chairman. Thank you.
Balog, I have a couple of questions for you, if I may. You make reference, if I take you to page 45 of the pack, which is your submission, okay? It's your handwritten submission, and about 4 lines down, you state that alcohol is being served to customers who were already completely intoxicated. Do you see that statement?
Sorry, which page is it?
It's page 45. Page 45 of the pack.
I'm scrolling. Yes, I am there. Which line did you say?
It's the 4th line down towards the end of that line. You will see that you make a statement, alcohol being served to customers.
Yes.
Intoxicated. Do you see those words? Can you tell me when? Can you tell me when that was?
To be honest, I did not write a date down to that one, but as I was saying, all I can say is that I was inside the actual building. No, I just said to you already. No, I can't remember exactly when it was.
Please listen to me for a moment, okay? I've listened to you a great deal. Now you need to listen to me, please. What is important, I wish to know whether that would have been within the period when these premises had an alcohol license, or whether it was more recently than that. So you've heard that these premises ceased to have a license in November 2018. So I want to know essentially whether it was before that date or after that date. Can you tell me that?
I don't remember the exact date, but what I can tell you, it was definitely not this year, because I would, remember recent things. So it definitely was not this year. I cannot remember if it was before November 2018 or after.
Okay.
But it's possible that it was while they had a license. It's very much possible that they had a license to sell alcohol, but my problem was not the fact that they sell alcohol while they have a license. My problem was that they sell alcohol to people who are already intoxicated.
How do you know that these customers bought alcohol from the cafe?
They were standing next to me. The guy actually, even the man who bought the alcohol, actually even touched me a little bit, because he was standing next to me and he was very wobbly. He couldn't stand very well, and he was holding the shot. I could see it was clear liquid. I don't know what sort tequila, but it was a clear liquid. I could smell the alcohol. He was completely drunk.
Okay.
But no date.
You can't tell me a date. Okay, thank you. And can I just reconfirm, in the statement that the police gave, they reported that someone had reported they'd called them on 96 occasions between September 2019 and September 2020. You indicated that those calls were made by you. Is that correct?
Yes. That is why the police must have mentioned this fact, the 96 number.
Thank you. That's all I need to know. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I have no other questions. Committee, any other points to raise?
No.
Okay. The next person to speak is Richard Smith, please.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a very strong objection to this application for 2 reasons. I believe it's not a suitable premises to play music and alcohol. And secondly, the applicant is not a suitable person to operate the premises. I want to address the question of the premises first, and it's mentioned at the beginning of this meeting about the licenses for loaded and pickup. I think it's important to distinguish between Tack and the village cafe. Load and Tack set outside, away from premises, so there is no noise pollution from those premises, which interferes with the which disrupts the residents' building. But what we do know from the village cafe is that there is significant noise and pollution from the cafe, even in times. And we all know in November 2009, plus on one previous occasion, that when they have loud music playing inside the premises, it does cause considerable disruption to the residents of the building. So, as I mentioned in my objection, the problem is that the door is a single door. So when the door opens, all the noise from the inside of the cafe escapes, and because the cafe is in an echo chamber, so you can anybody speaking, even whispering in that piazza, causes echoes, and it amplifies the noise. So every time the door opens in the cafe, and there's music playing inside the cafe, it creates very loud noise, which inevitably wakes up anybody who's trying to. Now, I believe that could be remedied in a very straightforward way by having a double entrance door. So if you build behind the current entrance door, and then you have an air gap inside, and then no noise would escape because the people would close one door before opening the next door. And I believe if the applicant had any intention of being a good service and being responsible for the understanding the position of the cafe, the residential area, would have offered to do that, and it's very disappointing that she hasn't done so. The fact that the application refers to CCTV, very cleverly worded, as has been noted, that in fact the CCTV is not controlled by the applicant. It's owned by Ballymore, which is a separate company, and therefore the applicant is not monitoring externally CCTV. I'm also objecting to the fact that the application says the premises license holder shall risk the requirement for door supervisors at the premise. I think it's very clear that from all of the information which we've listened to in this meeting, that a door supervisor is required, because it's very clear that the applicant cannot control the gang who sit at her tables for many hours without purchasing anything from the cafe. So therefore, it seems to me that given that she's not able to control the gang, it should be obvious a door supervisor is required. And again, it's very disappointing that she's attempted to be very clever in the wording of the application and committed to a risk assessment, but in fact, it should be obvious to her that in fact a door supervisor is required. Otherwise, the drug problem is going to be worse. Also, in December 2019, during the time that the applicant was a licensor, she did hold a very large party, and the party came out of the cafe and set off fireworks in the just outside the cafe door, so in the residential development. And it's such a dangerous thing that they did, that the team from Ballymore had to come outside to them to stop letting off fireworks. So I think it's very clear that the applicant is a suitable person to operate this license, and by her own admission, she is aware of drug dealing going on, and yet she'll do nothing about it. And that's my first.
Sorry, Mr. Smith, the line wasn't always completely clear. Can I take it that that's the conclusion of your submission?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Chairman, sorry, just 1 second, if I can just interject. Mr. Smith, would you like us to show the photos and the very short video clip that you submitted? It has already been circulated to the councillors and the interested parties already. Would you like me to show that now, or?
Yes, I think that's useful to do that. Yeah.
Can I ask actually, Mr. Smith, what I would find helpful is if once these photos and videos are being shown, you actually draw the attention to the various points that you believe these photos illustrate. Could you do that, please?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Okay, Liz, can you?
Can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
So I'll just scroll through. So we have picture 1. Obviously, Mr. Smith is on the phone, so you can't actually see which photo I'm showing. But
I've got a copy of them, so I can see.
Okay, yeah. So so picture 1 is with the 5 people standing outside.
Yeah.
Did you want to comment on that one, or shall I just move on to the next one?
Yes, I think both the if you serve alcohol inside the building and you have people outside the building with music, inevitably they come outside to smoke cigarettes. This is just normal, and it goes to the heart of the thing about the risk. It's a point about the risk assessment for the door supervisor. Clearly, if they had door supervisors on the premises, then they would be able to control their behaviour. But when people being outside, as I said, it's in the chamber, and so you can hear. It's impossible to see enough of noise generated by these people. And as you can, people who've had some alcohol are enjoying themselves, definitely not speaking quietly.
Okay. And then the second picture shows the two people walking across the square from the cafe.
Liz, I think that's
again,
isn't it?
The people. Sorry.
Okay. And then there's another photo with the tree in the foreground. Then we had the short video clip, which I'm just showing now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the sound isn't the best, but I think you mentioned that you wanted it to be clear that the noise is amplified once the door was open. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So, I mean, obviously, I am taking the picture from the way away with a poor quality phone. The point is, you can just sort of make out that the noise does change significantly as the door is open.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you. So, any questions for Mr. Smith? Councillor Allen?
No, I think I've listened to Mr. Smith very clearly.
Yeah. Councillor Chapman?
No further questions, Chairman. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Smith. No questions from me. So we now move into the discussion phase, and what I would like to do is to kick that off with a handful of questions, please, for Ms. Tamareva. Ms. Tamareva, I mean, can I ask you what your attitude is towards people taking marijuana?
Obviously, it's very negative and upsetting.
Yes. Okay. So
It's not acceptable. It's absolutely not acceptable. It's affecting business. It brings my business down. It's absolutely not acceptable.
okay, but against that, the committee's heard that there have been episodes going on at outside tables at your premises, and there hasn't been an intervention, it would appear, by you to stop that activity. I mean, can you explain to the committee why that is?
Obviously, I'm not allowed them to sitting in my premises and carry on to do whatever they want, or smoking marijuana, or to behave antisocial behavior. That's not acceptable. That's I will not. I will tackle this, and I will work very closely. And as I said, lately it's changing a lot now. It wasn't in the past. It was really bad, but now it's really calming down. But obviously, in my attitude, that will be not happening. I give the promise. If it's anything will happen again, this is not going to be acceptable. It's the police will be involved, and also I will contact the council.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know who was making that interjection, but there are rules in terms of the way in which we conduct this meeting. Everybody will have an opportunity to speak, and I must ask that we follow the correct protocols. But can I put it to you, Ms. Tamoeva, that it appears that you are able to exercise proper control over what goes on within the inside of your cafe, but things seem to be a lot more difficult when we're talking about these outside tables. What would you say to that?
It's been suggested now that I was relying on the CCTV footage from the concierge, which is already installed outside the cafe, and it's caused like a corner, L shape, and there's a cameras just there been installed as well. But also it's very visible for me as well what is happening outside the area, the tables area. But I'm gonna install extra the security, which is going to be CCTV footage, to be more closely. Even something I will see on the camera, then I will call the police straight away.
But CCTV is a record after the event. If you see people breaking the law, how are you going to intervene to stop that in the first place? How are you going to police that?
I need help from the police straight away.
So, I mean, if we look at the team of people you have working for you, I mean, as I understand it, the bakery start business at 7 in the morning. You said that the restaurant activity is going to start from 11 in the morning and go on till 11 at night. I mean, those are a lot of hours. Yeah. So, can you tell me what staff you have?
Yeah, it's a family business. It's going to be a family business, which is my daughter, my son, my family, and obviously they're gonna supervise all these premises, not just by myself. I can't be there all these hours, but which is going to be management in the bakery as well, which is my family. It's my daughter, and we will divide this responsibility to tackle this problem.
Okay, but if, for example, you've got a group of 8 or 10 young men, as has been suggested, sitting at an outside table, either making a lot of noise or smoking marijuana or, goodness me, dealing in the stuff as well, how is your daughter, or even how are you going to stop them and move them on? I mean, that's going to be very difficult, isn't it?
It won't be us, when we will see something suspicious. Obviously, it's not going to be for us to go out and speak with the 8 and 10 people group, men sitting there who is already probably high, and speaking to them directly, where we can call for the police who can deal with that.
But I mean, you heard one of the local residents suggest that there is a need perhaps for a door supervisor. Yeah.
I don't think so. It's necessary because we don't have any, in the moment, any records, any antisocial behavior recorded or any offense been made outside the village cafe so far. But if I will have a bar in the place, in the cafe, I would have think, you know, if the people getting drunk, there's a supervisor, needs to be door supervisor. But when it's going to food-led restaurant, family restaurant, and it's going to be provided with the meal, I don't see is necessary right now to hire because it's an extra cost as well to hire the supervisor. If the police can't tackle this problem now, well, because so far from 2016 to 2018, we don't have any records so far. No any crime has been recorded. And now is we're seeking for new premises license to start with the new food-led restaurant. We need to see how it goes. If we can't control, we can't take care of the premises, then we will consider, you know, extra help as a supervisor door. But in the moment, if there's no bar, I don't see it's necessary right now to do this.
Well, I mean, all I have to say about that is that it does seem to me that there's quite a body of evidence which suggests that the problems are quite concentrated to these outside tables. And it does appear as though control is not being exercised over those tables today. Do you agree with that?
Mr. Chairman, do you mind to repeat the question, please?
Yes. What I'm saying is that I mean, it seems to me, listening to what the residents have had to say, there is quite a weight of evidence which suggests that the problems that you are encountering with antisocial behaviour, with crime actually as well, in terms of drug taking and dealing, are concentrated in these outside tables. Yeah, and it seems to me that you and your family are struggling to control the conduct of customers at those outside tables. Would you agree with that?
No, we are not struggling at all. And I think I'm quite confident, and it's not something that I'm not going to be able to deal with. I have a strong family with me, and obviously this is affecting me as well, affecting my business, affecting my customers. It's not just the individual, it's affecting whole business. This is my intention this is not going to happen, these activities. It's not happening, like I said, if it's the groups of the youngsters. The problem is coming from the canal. Even I spoke with the police, when they're coming, they are down on the staircase, they're smoking marijuana. Is the smoke's coming there. When you're walking the piazza, you can smell coming, it's from there. There's not only the youngsters, group of youngsters there gathering there, they're also the drunkards, there are lots of drunkards around there as well. But this is nothing to do to affect my business. I want to expand my business. I want to build good restaurant there for the community, for the local community, for the Hayes, as especially Hayes Town is changing, you know, as a result of the building of more apartments. In addition to those, High Point Village, there's several new blocks under construction in Bluff Road and the old vinyl factory, Nestle factory. I mean, I'm just seeing how the Hayes is changing as well in the next couple of years.
Okay. Let's move on. Clearly, your business is situated right in the middle of what is essentially a residential area. Yeah? You'd agree with that? I mean, do you agree with me that in such circumstances, having an open channel of communication with the local residents and actually building a good relationship with them is very important?
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes.
How would you describe your relationship with the local residents?
But I want to build I am building the good relationship with my customers. There's 1,000 residents lives just in that 3 blocks. Is Vantage Building, Cardinal Building, and the Navigator. There's only 1,000 residents lives there. My again intention is build up good neighborhood or good vicinity is and a strong relationship between myself and the residents there and the whole community, whole Hayes.
Okay, but I mean, for example, if a resident has a problem which is attributable to your business, can they get hold of you? Can they? Is there a telephone number or something that
they can contact me?
Is that displayed on the premise at the moment?
No, it's not displayed on the premises, but they always can get my contact details from the concierge, which is next.
I mean, look, it does seem. I mean, look, you've heard comments from. I mean, one of the objectors today actually went as far as to say, well, if a license is granted, I'm going to campaign until that license is removed. Okay, I mean, that's, you know, that would suggest that certainly with some of the residents here, you are almost on a war footing. Yeah. Do you not think that there is a need to actually start your, you know, instead of this argument being transacted under this committee, don't you think there's a need to actually reach out to some of those residents and try and see if you can resolve the problem?
Yes.
And that surely means that actually it shouldn't be a question of them having to run to the concierge to get your contact details. Those things should be, you know, those contact details, I think, should be readily available so that they can call you.
Of course, no problem. That's going to be available from my staff and also from the concierge as a second option.
Okay.
But I know I understand their concerns. I understand. I totally understand. I'm the mother myself. I have the children. I have the grandchild as well. I understand totally what their concern is about the family, about the children, because I raised the family. And for me to keep, first of all, community close, work with the community close, and bring the best that I can from the premises.
Okay.
Not causing them any nuisance or antisocial behavior. It's just to work together. And I will speak with the neighbors, which they came as objection. They're very upset, but I will approach to them and I will speak to them directly myself as well.
Okay. Now let's just talk a little bit about the opening hours.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you would be running the, let's call it the restaurant side of the business from 11 a.m. until 11 p.m. Correct?
Yes.
And you also said that in your application that access to the outside tables would finish at 10 p.m. That's correct?
It is correct.
Yeah. Now, if I understand you correctly, 11 p.m. is the time at which you close the business, the staff go home and so forth. Yet you are going to run into a bit of an issue, aren't you, in terms of people buying a drink at, let's say, 10 to 11 and wanting time to finish their drink before they leave the premises. So do you not think it's necessary to have a cut-off time, which is somewhat earlier than 11 p.m. In order to facilitate, let's call it, drinking up time?
Yeah, I can reconsider this definitely, because if we're going to close at 11, 10 to 11, obviously this is not good time to serve the alcohol, because we're going to serve the alcohol with the meal, not and the kitchen going to be closed 10:30.
Yeah, well, you mentioned 10:30. I mean, I put it to you that, I mean, were the committee to grant you a license, 10:30 might be a sensible time to stop serving alcohol inside the premises.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, yeah, it is sensible, because the kitchen going to be closed. We can't serve the meal, and it's that's the time where it's stop.
And similarly, you might want to consider something along those lines for the outside.
2 years. That was same on the previous agreement. Till 10 p.m. the tables allowed to be stay outside, and after 10 p.m. should be inside. And this is also on my lease as well. It says that table and chairs have to be cleared up outside the premises by 10 p.m.
But similarly, if you've got customers sitting at a table,
yeah,
and they bought a drink at 10 to 10, they may not be ready to vacate those tables if they're still drinking.
Yeah, well, we will put like something like a signage where they will see the outside tables ceased at 10 p.m.
Yes, but
we're going to serve them as well. We're going to mention as well that.
But don't you need to have a cut-off point, an earlier cut-off point for the service of alcohol to the external tables?
From outside.
Yes.
10 p.m. we're going to finish it. I don't know what's the reasonable, 8:45.
Well,
or half 9.
Or 9:30 maybe. I don't know. That's. I just put it to you that is something that probably makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, you're talking about like a finishing serving by 9:30 outside.
Well, it could be. Yeah. I will. I will. We will obviously have to discuss that with the committee, but I float that as an idea.
That sounds sensible to me as well.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit. I mean, there's been a great deal of discussion about the drug issue for obvious reasons, but let's recognise as well that as you are in the middle of a residential area, the noise issue is an important one. Okay, and I would suggest to you that really breaks down in terms of the conduct at the outside tables. Yeah. And then there's, as I think one of the residents mentioned, there is an issue of the noise that emanates from inside the cafe because there is a single door. And you heard the resident make what sounded to me like a pretty sensible suggestion that actually if there was a double door arrangement, this would create like an airlock almost so that the noise did not permeate out and disturb the neighbours.
Yes, that day when Mr. Smith was putting that video and the pictures, that was the temporary event notice on that day. Temporary event notice, and when it is double glazing already. When the door is shut, it's no echo noise coming out from the door. But when someone leaves the premises, the echo can come out from the premises. But on that particular day, it was the temporary notice event. It was the christening party for the family.
Yeah. I understand that, but is there not a one issue?
It was the one-off event, temporary event notice we had that time, but it's no echo coming out because that it's quite solid double glazing doors. It's no noise coming out.
Yeah, but I put it, the issue is probably more that when somebody does leave the premises, the door is open and the noise from inside the cafe escapes, doesn't it?
I don't have this problem, to be honest with you.
You don't recognise that?
I don't recognise this is a problem because it's people live very quietly. It's not packed or busy or just too much noise there. No, I wouldn't say.
I mean, is there not a need as well to ask your customers, asking your customers to leave the premises quietly?
Yeah. That's what actually in my mind to say that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, that's enough questions from me for now. Councillor Chapman, would you like to raise any points?
Thank you, Chairman. There's just one point that came out of your discussion there, and I think you alluded to it yourself, actually. It relates to the timing of what is effectively two different operations. You've got the bakery that's 7 AM to 5 PM, and you've got the restaurant, which is obviously primarily the area that we're interested in, 11 till 11. The applicant's referenced her daughter and her son, who presumably will be involved in the business, which, as she says, is a family business. Can you explain to me? Can you explain? Well, basically, at any given time during the course of the day, how many people normally you would envisage be employed on the site? How many staff?
It's a question to me, yeah?
Okay.
Yes. Are you talking in the bakery or in the restaurant?
Well, I suppose if you start at 7 a.m., you've purely got a bakery.
Basically, bakery. How the bakery work? We have baker who comes at night and finishes early morning, and then we will have one sailor who's gonna work on the bakery side. Yeah, and then the kitchen gonna start. The restaurant gonna start in. The people gonna start to come workers at 10 a.m. They're gonna start to do their preparation for the opening for 11 a.m. And we have one chef, one assistant, and one who gonna stay to do the kitchen cleaning and buy this thing for the dishwasher. The 3 people in the kitchen, and the 2 people gonna start in the front, 5. In total, we're looking 7 people to create the job. But this is the family members. We are 5 members of family who is gonna be involved, and one is gonna be baker and one is gonna be chef.
And obviously, between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m., the 2 businesses overlap, so to speak. So there's going to be, during that sort of peak period in terms of the operation, you're going to have presumably 5 or 6 people on site minimum.
3 in the 6 people. Yeah, the baker every morning. Yeah.
And what about after the baker? I mean, let's say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. I appreciate there's the factor of how busy you are, but as a minimum, how many people would you imagine being there at 10 o'clock?
At 10 p.m. or
10 p.m. Sorry, yeah.
10 p.m. Workers you're talking about, yeah. Who is going to be working in a sale of bakery? She's going to finish 5 p.m. the work, and then it's going to be staying 5 people. 5 workers going to stay.
So at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, there will still be 5 people on site.
On the site. Yeah. The bakery is only 2 people. Baker comes at night, and then only 1. It's like a Greg's. It's like Greg's or Wednesday. This type of style, yeah. Loaf bread.
I'm not so much interested in the bake. Well, I'm interested, but not that much. But in terms of the sort of evening side, there will be, as a minimum, you will have 5 people on site.
Yes.
Okay.
That's minimum. If we're gonna get busier, we're gonna get more.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, more waiters coming. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more, Councillor Chapman?
No other questions, Chairman. Thank you.
Councillor Allen.
I think between the 2 of you, you've asked every question I had down on my list. I've been taking them off. Thank you very much
for that. Okay. Right. I don't know that there are any more points to be raised in the discussion phase, unless anybody, I'm not seeing any indication from anybody. So we now move to the point where we deal with closing submissions from those who are present. So we start, and I would ask, bear in mind that we have spent a great deal of time listening to submissions and asking questions and so forth. So can I please ask for brief summary comments in closing from everyone who's participated? So can we please start with Mr. Smith? Any closing comments that you'd like to make?
Hello, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You did start to explore the issue of the double door, but I think it's very clear that the applicant is not prepared to do that. But I think that would solve most of the problems of the premise, because that would make all of that. And I think, can I be very clear what I mean by double door? I mean that there's another entry and exit door placed a metre or metre and a half behind the existing door, creating a vestibule which would trap any noise. I think that would be an obvious thing to do, and something which would be which would show that the applicant was very aware of the noise which is created in the which disrupts the residents in the building, and I would hope that the committee would consider imposing that as an obligation. I would support the committee if it did do that. But I also think throughout the course of this meeting, it's being shown very clearly that the applicant is not a suitable person to operate this these extended hours and this music. It's quite clear that the already existing problems can only get worse if the committee approves this application. Thank you for listening to my submission.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That's good. Thank you. Imesha Balog, again, can I remind you, please, very brief closing comments, please.
Yes, good point. Just, I want to support Mr. Smith in everything he said. The main point is that we have no confidence in the management's ability or willingness, and best prediction of future behavior is past behavior, and she's already proven herself over the years, and including this summer, that she's not capable or willing to deal with the drug issues. And I just think I can't even believe she actually applied for extended license. But anyway, as Mr. Smith said, in my opinion, she's completely unwilling and incapable to deal with the issues already. And extending the license would just make the situation much, much worse.
Okay.
That's it. I don't want to, because I already took up a lot of time before.
Thank you very much.
I think I said everything before.
Yeah, you have. Thank you. Okay. Agnes Mizaros, please. Closing comments from you. Again, brief, please, if you would.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for having this licensing meeting. If the licensing is going to be granted in the future, I would maybe put it under the condition that the lady who is running the cafe maybe proves to the residents first that she can generate revenue without affecting residents' life. We do have 600 flats here, so I would say we have even more than 1,000 customers, or possibly who can generate revenue. But I would maybe focus on more family-orientated things, more programs promoted for families with small children, because you would have an absolute killing of the premises, because there are so many young families who would maybe like to use your premises. And also those young boys, guys, don't know their age, they are between 18 and 20. If you could get rid of them, and then they at the moment they are making no favor for your business, because customers who would normally maybe visit your premises, they don't, because they are scared of them. They are intimidating. Possible drug dealing going on. I can't prove it because I don't use drug myself, and I don't intend to. If you could get rid of them and prove to the whole residents, all of the residents, that your business is viable and family oriented, it is my preference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Jeannie Mukherjee, do you want to make any closing comments, please?
Thank you, Chairman. You wanted further information on the complaint which we have on our records. So this was submitted by Ms. Balog and dates back from April 2018. The reference number is 6597581, and this was made. Was entered on 11th of April 2018, and surrounding the same complaint, like the use of drug. I can read it out if you want me to, or.
Well, I think probably it's sufficient for the committee to know that that is the nature of the complaint. I mean, I'll defer to my colleagues if they would like to hear the detail. For me, it's not necessary, but if Councillor Allen or Councillor Chapman would like to hear that, that's fine by me.
Sure. Okay.
No.
Yes, sorry.
I think we've heard enough. Thank you, Ginny.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
the answer is a no then. Jeannie, does that conclude your closing remark?
Yes, and just another thing, it was mentioned earlier, like there are concerns that the cafe will be turned into a bar, and so no, it's just the contrary. It's going to be a restaurant, not a bar. The conditions reflect that, the operating schedule conditions and the conditions agreed with the licensing officer, and also with the regulated entertainment, like it's not regulated, and the music that's being proposed, that's also a soft music. It's not high decibel music. So there are those factors. I would like to make this submission, and that's all. Thank you.
Ginny, thank you very much for that. So finally, in conclusion of closing remarks, Ms. Tamoeda, would you like to make some closing comments, please? And again, if you can keep them brief, that would be appreciated.
Yes, thank you for listening today, and I will do my best for the community and for the neighbors. I heard my neighbors' concern as well, they raised, and we're going to working together and stay together. We're going to have more power and make sure this place is going to be safe environment. It's going to be in the interest of the public safety and to prevent any antisocial behavior. Thank you very much for listening today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we've now reached the conclusion of the stage where we consider the application. So what is now going to happen is that the subcommittee will adjourn and will move to a private deliberation on the application prior to announcing its decision. This could take a while, so you do not have to rejoin the virtual meeting, but can instead watch the decision announcement live or after the fact on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. A decision notice will also be issued to the applicant in writing within 5 working days of the meeting. So thank you to everyone who's taken the time to attend this virtual meeting today, and please remain muted while we end this section of the YouTube broadcast.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm just going to end the stream.